Today's card of the day is Smuggler's Share, 2 and a white for an enchantment with, at the beginning of each end step, draw a card for each opponent who drew 2 or more cards this turn. Then, create your token for each opponent who had 2 or more lands on the battlefield under control this turn. I am actually super glad that they had made this card from Trees of New Capenna. I think New Capenna had a few white cards that sort of gathered into white's, I guess, sort of identity now, which is drawing cards at the expense of your opponent's drawing cards, sort of this like catch-up mechanic, which I guess they've always had, but it's very much strong and present, as you can see in this enchantment. And I think it works out as much as you think. So when I've seen this being played, it was a 3 mana do nothing for about 3 turns, and then people started to play sort of like disregarding this card. And I'm like, okay, like that's fine. 3 mana, you want the game to go longer. Well, you're probably stopping people from playing draw spells because they don't want you to draw, right? Like people will pay risk study sometimes because they don't want you to draw. And this is sort of like that, except it's a little more interesting because it does have the land clause with it as well. And also it is capped at the fact that you can only do this once per extra draw. So unlike Ristic where it's sort of unbounded, this does have its limitations, which is, okay, it happens. That happens, it's fine. But the ceiling is still relatively high. You might potentially get 4, depending on your pod. Usually pods are around 3 to 4 plus. And if you get 4 people in a pod and people are playing spell slingers like crazy, like they could just cast a few ops, considers, and things like that, and just have themselves draw a few cards per turn. And of course, whites look down upon, I guess for good reasons as well. You might draw a few cards because of that. And drawing 4 cards in a single turn is nice, but imagine a turn cycle and like Merry Christmas Land. Like this is pretty decent. And if you're playing against green, where they play a lot of lands, or even like other decks, they don't play too many lands. Land fetches. That is 2 mana, rampant growth, something like that. Fetches also trigger the last clause, and if that's the case, creating a treasure isn't bad either. I do like the fact that it's a treasure too, because the fact that it's a treasure means it is a single time use, but also it doesn't dilute the space of cards that sort of get lands on the basis that your opponents have more lands than you. And so you can still play this and still be totally fine with the amount of cards that sort of have that catch-up advantage as well in your deck. And I'm fine with that. That sounds good. So anyways, back to the idea that this card is a 3 mana spell that sort of does stuff occasionally. Once I saw it being played for 3 mana do nothing, it eventually did draw a few cards, and it wasn't that many, right? People, unless you're playing like a super fast-paced game where people are drawing cards like crazy and there's not like too many haymakers to probably high power up, and just which this game was, it'll probably do the most there, where like if you're playing in a lower power / battlecruiser meta, I'm guessing you're not going to be playing not too many draw spells, and more so just like ramping into your big battlecruiser beefy boys. And so that's where I think this card comes best in, is like those higher power level metas where you're drawing a bunch of cards. And I think it's good at that. I think it's like relatively good. Like 3 mana over the course of a game, assuming this doesn't attract too much attention like a Ristic Study would, and doesn't get blown up as soon as other high priority threats are, this could draw you, from what I've seen, like probably around 3 to 4 cards in a game. Now 3, and that's assuming it's a faster game, right? Now 3 mana for draw 4, and over the course of the game, it's kind of slow. But I think it's worth it because, like I said, the ceiling is pretty high, and the floor is like, you're okay with the floor. Like playing this in deck means you want to go longer, and even in a deck that doesn't want to go longer, like this is okay because you have so many opponents that are doing things that are disregarding you that they probably will draw, and you'll probably draw a card. So I think even if you don't want to go that slow in a game, saying you're playing like an aggressive red deck or just an aggressive deck that's playing white, even then, like people want to draw cards to find answers, and that just means you're going to draw cards to potentially answer your protect your threats, right? Answers for their answers, and it's still good in that case. Like I think this card is generally all around good, and it makes sense for its price tag around its release, which is around $30 right now. But of course, let me know what y'all think about this card. I'm super stoked to play it. I definitely like playing or getting card draw in my decks. As you guys know, I play a lot of white. This is definitely an auto include, and I'm super interested in see how it plays out. And I think it's going to be probably maintaining its price tag for relatively long, seeing that this is coming from a commander deck. And there has been, what's that other card? Archaeomancer's Map, that has been steady at like $10. And I think that is just basically a white divination. This is now I'm saying sort of, like with a bunch of asterisks, sort of, with like a Ristic Study. in that it's super strong for like white decks, and probably every white deck will want this just sort of to stop people from going too fast, because of course this gives incentive to not play too fast and drawing too many cards, filter, whatnot. This is sort of like that, right? So I'm guessing it's gonna maintain that price tag, but of course we'll see. But let me know what y'all think about this comment below. You guys playing this? Of course you're playing this. How well do you think it's gonna fare out? Is it gonna be as good as Wedding Ring? What do you guys think? Tenuous Truce? I'm interested. Let me know.